when you come here, student loans are not available for international students. Hi everyone, my name is Rika and thank you so much for stopping by my channel again. So in today's video, I really wanted to kind of talk about how you are able to afford or to finance being an international student in Canada. International students' tuitions are usually double and even in some instances triple the amount of money that you'd have to spend as a domestic student just for tuition. So if you are interested in having a deeper understanding of how it is that you are able to finance yourself as an international student in Canada, feel free to stay along for the rest of this video. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who definitely needs this information, comment down below, let me know future video ideas, and subscribe. All right, let's jump on in. It is very important for you to have a realistic budget in your planning to come to Canada as an international student. I know for at least for me, I'm not able to run to a family house and be like, oh, save me from all these expenses. I definitely have to handle them head on, and I have to be prepared to take them on by myself. All right, so I'm going to assume that this video is being watched by someone who's still in their home country. If you are in your home country currently and you're working or not working, because some persons do have that opportunity to not necessarily be working, but still be able to have sources of income coming in. The first thing that I did when I decided to seriously pursue this whole venture is I cut my expenses. For example, if I was making, say for example, 100,000 a month, I would spend like 50,000 a month on everything that I need to spend. Like I cut my salary in half and I just literally saved the other portion of it. I just skipped out on a lot of things. I wasn't really a big partier in the first place, so it wasn't necessarily difficult for me to like, oh, not go to parties anymore. Like that was fine for me. I didn't buy any new wigs during that time. I didn't upgrade my phone. If you are able to still live at your parents' house, you know, coming up to the point where you're coming to Canada, I would go ahead and definitely utilize that. I also didn't buy a car while I was in Jamaica. You know, I just realized it wasn't the best financial move. If your job doesn't require that you have a car, or your job doesn't require that you leave your parents' house and go ahead and rent, I would utilize the savings that you are able to generate from that and just stay at my parents' house. Don't buy a car right away. The vacations, please limit those. I went on vacations, but I tried to go with like other people so it would be cheaper. If you have credit cards, try not to use them. Limit those types of expenses so that you're able to save a lot more money. All right, so the next thing that I did was, and I would advise you if you are able to do this, is save all of your bonuses and pretend like you didn't get them. I had the opportunity where I used to get different types of bonuses, you know, associated with my previous jobs. I would pretend like I didn't get that bonus and I would just like not use it any at all, and it would just go straight towards this venture. All right, so the next way that you are able to finance yourself is parental financial support, or support from, you know, family, friends, or I don't know, depending on what your situationship is. Maybe that is an avenue that you can get some amount of financial support from. If you are able to do that, definitely go ahead and take advantage of those things. If you are able to get your parents to support you and whatever, sometimes you don't even have to necessarily repay them. You're just able to kind of start out life without thinking about having like debt on your back, and that can be like a really good thing. And sometimes you do have family members who just literally want to assist you with your education and genuinely want to see you doing well, so they are able to afford it, so they're just like, okay, don't worry about it, I'll pay your tuition. All right, so I remember when I spoke with one of my immigration consultants before I came here, and this is definitely not something that they usually recommend, but realistically I think it's a way how a lot of persons actually afford to be able to study as an international student, you know, in another country, and that is by taking loans. I don't think that there's like a loan category for like for leaving the country. Say, you know, you're in Jamaica, I don't think you could necessarily go to a loans officer and say, hey, I want to study in Canada and I'd like to take this loan. I'm not going to come back to Jamaica, and if you give me the money, I promise to repay. Like, I don't think that that's going to be security enough for any financial institution to go ahead and give you the funds. If you are studying in Jamaica, I'm pretty sure it'd be a little easier to secure that type of loan. However, what I've noticed that some people have utilized is to probably get their parents to get the loan for them, and you know, it's really your parents that's going to be on the hook for this loan if you don't pay it back. And usually persons are responsible enough to pay that back. I'm not necessarily promoting this because then a lot of persons, you know, default on the loans, but if you think or you feel like you're responsible enough to go ahead and do that, totally, and then you can just continue paying it because it would just be like another student loan. The next thing that I want to get into is to work. I feel like the things that I've mentioned earlier kind of more gravitate around paying your tuition, and kind of that's like the biggest bill that you probably will have as an a student anywhere, but especially as an international student in Canada, that you're only able to work 20 hours per week. So you're not necessarily able to work enough that would be able to actually pay your tuition. So when you think about that, working 20 hours a week is kind of to do your day-to-day finances, because say you get a minimum wage job, which is quite likely the jobs that you will get, because they will have the flexibility that you need. So you're working 20 hours per week, and to say that that will give you enough money in order to pay your 16,000, 12,000 tuition for a semester. So you kind of would use that job as your everyday type of expense job. There are students who work more than 20 hours, and that's definitely a no-no. I remember when I was doing my postgrad program, and I believe I was in HR planning class, and we had discussed it, where there was a student who was working, I think, almost 40 hours per week, and the authorities were alerted, or they found out about it, and he was removed and was to be deported. So after, and I think he was probably like a month away from completing his postgrad education here and be on his way to getting his permanent residency. So you absolutely do not want it to be a situation where you're so close to getting your dream, and because you are working 40 hours a week in order to sustain yourself, you lose out on all the funds that you had spent, initially. The biggest thing that I think to understand or to really work towards is to having your tuition ready, so that you are able to pay that, and then you are able to finance yourself day to day with your 20-hour per week job. I think when you are doing like a 2-year program, you probably are in a better position where you can work the entire summer and probably pay like a semester's tuition. Because if you really go hard during the summer months and probably any other breaks where you are able to work your full 40 hours, that would be really good. Maybe I should also explain. So when you are doing your postgrad education, you are able to get a work permit, and that allows you to work 20 hours per week. Anything more than that is a problem. During school breaks, you are now able to work 40 hours per week. So if you are doing a 2-year program, you will definitely be able to work like 40 hours per week while you're on like summer breaks and whatever other breaks that the semester gives. But if you are doing like a 1-year program like I did, you only get 2 consecutive semesters. So after that, you have to then get on your postgraduate work permit, and you wouldn't have been able to work those 40 hours per week. You could use your credit card to take care of a lot of your finances if you have like a big limit. If your credit card is from back in your home country, I know at least for Jamaica, the exchange rate definitely negatively impacts, because it costs quite a bit to do the cross currencies. If you are from a higher currency, it will also affect you, because you're still getting like less value for what your money is really worth, if that makes sense. So it's very important for you to understand that when you use your credit cards as well. I remember when I was paying my tuition to Humber, they were saying if you use a credit card, there was some amount of percentage charge. If I can dig up that email or that correspondence, I will probably put it on the screen to just kind of give you an idea of how much. If you're making big expenditures on your tuition and stuff like that, I would just bear that in mind, that it might incur an additional cost that might not be in your favor. Using your established relatives in Canada who are willing to give you financial support to take care of your expenses while you are here. So some persons are fortunate, or maybe even in some instances unfortunate enough, to have relatives or friends that live in Canada, and they are able to stay with them, so they don't have to necessarily think so much about rent or food, but they probably just give like a contribution instead of the actual cost of what it will be. I feel that's a double-edged sword for me, because some people mean well, but sometimes family members can be a little overbearing, and they don't necessarily they don't always mind their business when you'd like them to mind your business. And sometimes you come here, you're already an adult, you have your ways, and you don't necessarily want people kind of telling you what to do. If you do come with to relatives, you have to understand also you are in their space, and you need to be courteous, and you need to ensure that you are being like a really good guest, so that they want you in their space as well. It's not always the other way around, where they are the persons who are just like awful and aggressive and all that type of thing and invasive. Sometimes you come there, now wash up your plate, them, you left them in a sink, and them a cuss about it every minute. We know they're not charging your rent, but they are spending money. If you have an extra $50, drop in at them and make them feel nice too. So those are also things that you would, it would be nice if you consider. If they are able and also willing to take out loans in order to like pay your tuition and stuff like that, that would be so good, because when you come here, student loans are, as far as I know, not available for international students. And when you think about it, you can definitely understand why. You come here and you're only able to work 20 hours per week. How many financial institutions would be willing to give you money and you're working 20 hours per week, you don't even have a full-time job, and that's usually a requisite to get any type of loan, unless it's like a student loan, but then you would be required to be a citizen of that country or have permanent residence in a lot of cases. So if your relatives who have more established credit here are willing to take out those loans, then that would work out just right for you. Those are things that you really have to think about. So to come here and think that you're going to secure, finances, it's a little unrealistic, because it probably won't happen where you get a student loan or an unsecured loan sufficient to cover your expenses while you are a student here. Kind of want to touch on something else, kind of segue a little bit. You really need to bear in mind when you're applying for permanent residence that, all right, so I've touched on finances that are associated with you being a student here and everything. When you're applying for your PR, you do need to show the government as well that, because you're going to be applying through express entry, that you do have the amount of money required to take care of yourself. So that's another bank statement that you'll need to show for a single person, as in my case, about $13,000. Again, bear in mind that we already showed the government $25,000, and now when you're going through express entry, you have to show additional funds. So that's also something to keep in mind when you are saving up and when you are going through these different expenses. You also need to think about the different examinations associated with getting your PR for persons who want to be a student here and then transition into becoming a permanent resident. So I think with the ITLS or IELTS test, I can never pronounce that thing. I'll put the amount that it is. With CELPEP, I remember it being like almost $500, because you also have to think about the study material cost that is associated with doing this test. So it can cost quite a bit, and there's no guarantee that you do it one time and you'll get the required score. So you might end up spending $1,000, $1,500. I've heard of persons doing this test all 8 times. So you really have to think about how much this can really cost you. Rooms are available, and most students do rent rooms. Some students do rent like a whole basement, and if you are splashy, cashy, dashy, if you have like enough funds to finance yourself and all that type of thing, you are able to rent like a whole apartment. And depending on your location, rooms can range anywhere from $300 to whatever your landlord's imagination will allow them to believe or think, or put whatever price, because some places I've seen, it's honestly just highway robbery. And it's really good if you are able to arrange an Airbnb at least before you get here, or stay with a family member for a couple of weeks while you look for somewhere that is appropriate for you to stay and that you think you'll be comfortable, because it can get very expensive. And I do feel like sometimes landlords do take advantage of international students because they know that you just need somewhere to live. And again, how to finance that, you can definitely go ahead and do a part-time job. Lots of places here. There are a lot of agencies that I've spoken about before in how to get a job. I'll probably put in the cards how to get a job in Canada video, and they are able to help you to secure jobs so that you are able to finance yourself. So to be honest, the main ways to finance yourself being an international student is from your savings. If your parents or relatives are able to help you out, from loans, I wouldn't be too optimistic about getting loans from Canada, but from your home country, and ensure that you are responsible when you're doing that. Using your credit cards to pay, getting loans from Canada through relatives or whatever. Also, even if someone can't necessarily pay your tuition or give you a month's rent, if someone is able to buy you a winter boot, a winter jacket, I don't know, a good luck charm, chain, take it. It is something, and it does add value to your you being here and whatever. And it's not all the time people can bring you the entire cow, but if they can give you the rope, accept it. Be sure to be grateful. Like, a lot of persons have worked and gone to school simultaneously, and they're perfectly fine. So I believe that is kind of it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. If you know someone who is thinking about making this journey and you feel like some of these tips can be helpful to them, or you think that they would need someone just to vocalize to them as a reminder, you don't need to buy that car right now. Go and stay at your mother's place. It won't be the end of the world. Save as much as you can before you venture out. Feel free to share this video with them. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your consistent support, for your really lovely messages, and for all the encouragement that I have received throughout this journey. I definitely will be continuing to pump out content to help people who are thinking about making this journey, and I wish you all the success in your journey as you transition to Canada, or as you think about doing it, or I don't know, if you just like watching my videos and you have no, you just like watching my videos, thank you. And I will see you in my next video.